Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to MCP's monthly cyber chat. My name's Mike Beagles. Now, today we're going to cover several updates that in the cybersecurity world that are going to illustrate just how complex our cyber criminals' tactics are. So let's get right to it. So this first one is going to talk about the SolarWinds Orion installation. Yes, we are talking about SolarWinds again, but this time it's a little different. So recently, the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Agency, CISA, disclosed details of a different tactic that had been employed to infect a SolarWinds installation. Now, the actor in this instance already had credentials to a VPN connection, legit credentials, two-factor authenticated credentials, and we're still able to get access through this method and deploy malware on a SolarWinds Orion install. Now, this wasn't the same malware that we experienced back in December of 2020 that went through the federal government like wildfire. This is actually a different type of variant called Supernova. It's a backdoor and it kind of creates a shell around the SolarWinds installation that allows the cyber criminals to deploy whatever malware that they need to deploy. They did detect this in March, and when they detected it, they saw that they had actually been in the network for almost a year. Now, with those valid credentials, nobody knew. They looked like a legitimate employee account. And the malware was deployed successfully. So in the meantime, CISA is recommending that organizations continue to implement MFA for their privileged accounts and make sure that the accounts that are being used by real people. Too many times we see that accounts are still sitting out there and there are no users that are actually using them currently. With these accounts still being out there, we do run the risk of someone actually getting those credentials and masquerading as a legitimate employee. So that VPN exploit was more of a, oops, I forgot to disable this account. So that's another one that I wanted to bring to everyone's attention. Now, this next one is really, really interesting. And this is really going to showcase how complex these cyber criminals' tactics are. This was a massive Android botnet. Now, botnets are basically like zombies, but in the computer sense. A botnet would be something that's deployed so that they could, they being the cyber criminals, so that they could use it to create a big network of computers to make what's called a denial of service attack, a distributed denial of service attack, because you have all of these different pieces communicating at the same time. Now, a massive Android botnet basically means that if you have an Android device, the botnet is running off of your Android. So a massive Android botnet was discovered and it hit smart TVs and the entire advertising ecosystem. Now, this was a very long investigation that started back in 2020, and it did infect up to 1 million Android devices. And all of these Android devices, like I said, they're zombies, were pretending to be people watching advertisements on smart TVs. So stay with me here. We're going to get a little deeper on this. Now, this setup really started with hackers creating applications that they would post on an app store. The application, for all intents and purposes, looked legitimate. People would download it and they would use it as if they were using the app for its intended purpose. The one that I saw was actually like some sort of flashlight app. Now, the botnet works by spoofing a signal within the Android mobile app. So it looks legit. It works legitimately on your smartphone, but then it connects as if it is a smart TV. Now, by doing this, you may be wondering, why would that matter? Well, smart TVs and a lot of the applications that we get on our home TVs, they get a lot of their revenue from advertisements. Now, what these hackers were doing is they were impersonating people watching these advertisements from Android smartphones. This was incredibly sophisticated, and it's evasive because not only did they find applications and millions of devices being used for this purpose, but it was basically also infecting your smart TVs to some degree. They did find 36 different applications on the Roku channel store that received instructions from the same server that was being used for the Androids. Now, that's called a command and control server. Basically, it's going to send out instructions to all of the phones that have been affected and tell the phones carry out this activity. Now, the Roku apps did this in a very similar fashion, and they were spoofing other smart TV streaming products. Those of you who are not familiar with what Roku is a very popular streaming TV product. You can buy them for your smart TVs as the little device or USB. Some of them even have them built into the actual TV. And this was what was being impersonated. Now, because of this money that was being made on advertisements, the criminals were actually gaining money from this entire thing. So I know that's a lot. That is definitely complex. And that just shows you that they're willing to go to massive lengths to meet their end goal. Now, most of you have heard recently about the Microsoft Exchange server hack. So this started in January, where Microsoft was made aware of 4 zero-day exploits in Exchange server on-premise. And let me repeat that for everyone who's watching: on-premise Exchange servers, not Office 365. Important difference. So basically, the 4 exploits that were made aware to Microsoft in January basically constituted what's called an attack chain. And the chain would begin with the attacker getting an established 443 trusted connection to the Exchange server. Most Exchange servers that are on premise are exposed to the internet in some fashion, and they're typically using what's called HTTPS for secure. 443 is the port number that's associated with the HTTPS. And once the hackers did get that untrusted but secure connection to the Exchange server, they were able to start exploiting in the rest of the chain, and it hijacked the system, and they could execute commands remotely. Now, this allowed them to deploy ransomware, backdoors, and other infections, and it led to thousands upon thousands of weeks, in a couple of weeks, thousands of firms being exploited. And at one point, there were so many Exchange servers that were being detected as exploited that cybersecurity firms and businesses just could not keep up. Now, in March, Microsoft released patches. So we went from January all the way into Patch Tuesday in March. And in that March Patch Tuesday release, they released all of the fixes that were going to help plug the gaps. But there were still thousands of unpatched servers worldwide. There were so many that the FBI had already started mitigating them proactively without companies knowing. They could do this because of Microsoft's reporting mechanisms. Now, according to Microsoft, 92% of the worldwide affected servers had been patched by March 22nd. We're already most of the way through April, and that means that there could still potentially be thousands of servers out there that are unpatched. So if you're watching this and you know you have an Exchange server on premise for your environment, make sure that those patches have been applied. All right, so one more thing here, and this is really interesting. There has been an increase in distributed denial of service attacks to the telecoms industry. Now, according to Cloudflare, that's a website security company that provides distributed denial of service attack mitigation services. First quarter 2021 indicated that telecom was the most targeted sector for these types of attacks. They cited their own platform. They have about 25 million users that use their platform, and that was their source of data for this research. But the concern here is that there's enough traffic being produced by botnets and other malware infected computers that the targeted organizations, in this case telecom, can experience severe disruptions. And if you're following the logic here, telecoms are providing access for all of us. So if they get affected by a DDoS attack, now everyone is going to be affected by that from that service provider in that area. So increase there, something we got to watch out for. All right, so for this month, I'm going to give everyone what I like to call my cyber reminder. And this one's pretty personal to me. Be smart about your smartphone use. Threats are everywhere, and they infiltrate all the technology that we use. Be mindful of what you use your smartphone for and what applications you share information with. You could unwittingly download an app for your smartphone, and that once it's installed and running in the background, it's stealing information and access credentials that are already on your phone used for other things. While there are many safeguards in place on our phones to prevent this, most of the applications that we download connect to the internet, and that is where they're going to fool you. The avenues that are available to cyber criminals are so vast that a lot of times we forget how they intersect. So my cyber reminder, be smart about your smartphone use. All right, well, I appreciate your time watching this video. I hope you found this information helpful. You can always contact us on our website at www.missioncriticalpartners.com. And while you're there, you can sign up for our email threat advisories. That's it for this month. Stay cyber safe.
Mission Critical Partners is a professional services and IT services firm that helps clients evolve their public safety systems and operations and improve emergency response through our extensive experience, knowledge, and resources. By providing insight and support every step of the way, our clients are able to transform their mission-critical operations, maximize the value of their investments, and ensure optimal performance and success. Learn more by visiting missioncriticalpartners.com.